Hello Tower Guard friends, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for another Orc Mode workout, and today was max effort bench press day. And I've realized I kind of want to go back to just messing with my straight bar, maybe the buffalo bar, with accommodating resistance till I'm ready to PR. And I think it was obvious from last week's stuff that I've lost pressing strength, right? My shoulder inflammation really set me back. I feel like I've lost delt strength, I've lost pec strength. Fortunately, I've gained tricep strength. My triceps are improving, but they need to continue to improve because when we watch this, they still seem to be the weak link. And I did okay here, and people need to remember this is 77 pounds of chains. I tend to miss bench presses midway or all the way at the lockout. So it came off the chest pretty fast, but I still know that I have lost muscle in my pecs and delts a little bit because I haven't been able to train them as hard for the last 2 months after, again, that major shoulder inflammation from pull-ups, right? Which I finally am at the point where I feel like it's 99% rehabbed. We can start gaining strength again. It's like I said last week. But my floor presses were horrifically bad. And we know I'm weaker at wide grip pressing in general. So I've got to correct that. And if we look at what I was doing before I hit that 352 close grip bench, right? A couple months back, well, it's been like 9 weeks now, I think something like that. I had done a lot of floor pressing, a lot of overhead pressing leading up to it, a lot of tricep work. I need to continue that. That's the direction I really need to go. I don't enjoy floor pressing. I don't like it, but I know it builds my bench strength, and it builds both my wide and my close. And people will say, well, you're doing it wide grip, so what's going on there? How's that going to help your close grip benching if you do close grip? Well, I'm going to mess with both for maxing later. And in this case, because I do all my speed work close grip and I'm really explosive with close grip, it tends to flow well for speed work. I can get away with the wider grip on the floor press because I feel like I get more out of the wide grip. And mainly because I can touch my chest. It's not really a partial for me. I feel like I get a lot of pec work, both lower and upper chest. I feel like I get a lot of both on the floor press, but it's weak right now. I mean, I did sets of 8 to 9 reps with 215. I did 205 last time and managed to get a couple sets of 10, then I started losing reps. Well, I thought after max benching it would be a little better, so I went up to 215, and the strength isn't quite there. Though they feel weak on the lockouts. That's where they feel like the grinds on the last rep, but I don't really feel my triceps much on it. So I would say in order of priority, for me, triceps need to continue to be a high priority. Okay, triceps top priority, delts a close second, and then pecs. But we'll address the pecs by doing floor press. I think I'm going to go ahead and floor press for higher reps on both of my bench days. Okay, we know we're addressing the pec then, and we know the pecs are getting addressed on speed day because the speed benching hits my pecs really hard. But I'm also using the buffalo bar right now, so I get a deeper stretch, even on the close grip. Then I'll do the floor press to go ahead and again hit those pecs really hard. Learn to get power again out of the bottom of my bench because of the dead stop. And then we'll build delts and things from there. So with this, I'm going to do a little less volume on my pressing on max effort days because I am doing so much volume. My volume is really high. I'm doing a lot of metabolic fatigue work. Doing a lot of rep work. So I think what I'll try to do is stick to close to 10 reps on these. I won't do as much volume on my pressing, and I'll hit my triceps really hard because my triceps don't really have a recovery issue. They can handle a lot of volume, and they need a lot of volume. And this way we don't risk any overuse or overtraining issues due to pressing muscles. And then I can focus everything else on my upper back and all my supplemental movements. So we'll try to hit some nice moderately heavy, moderate volume on this day. So I did 3 sets of floor press and then 3 sets of overhead pressing. All right. After maxing, that's a decent amount of volume, but it's lower volume for me. And then we'll hit really high volume on the second workout. And this will allow me to, again, put all that volume into my shoulders and triceps and everything else that really need it in upper back. I decided to try something a little different here too. I'm like, let me do these seated because I don't want to do overhead pressing lately because of the fatigue on the low back while standing. I don't have the fatigue to spare. I do so much low back work, and especially with the high rep good mornings thrown in, the reverse hypers every day. I don't really want to load my low back any more than I have to. I don't even like the fact that I do shrugs right now, even though I benefit from them. Right? If my grip was a little better, I wouldn't even do shrugs. I'd just do more upright rows on that day. But I don't want the extra low back work because I get an enormous amount of it. An enormous amount of it due to my other big structural lifts. But I wanted to get some overhead work, and especially the wide grip, because it really helped. Like, I did a ton of this standing and got really proficient at it, and it seemed to have carried over to that bench PR also in the months leading up to it. So I want to do it, but I'm going to do it seated now. And this was hard, and it's like it was such a deep burn in my upper chest, the upper fourth of my chest, right up near the clavicle. That entire area hurt doing these. And I mean, I felt the shoulders, I felt a lot of side delt, and I felt some tricep and everything on it. But that upper chest, and then the side delt felt like a secondary. So I really like that wide grip. And even with me seated and it's a little bit of a layback, I get a lot of the benefits I'd get from an incline from that. But I couldn't handle a lot of weight. Like, I was hoping to get 10s with these. I only got 10 on the first set. And it was like 8 or 9 and then 8, something like that. So it was all 8 to 9 reps. I might have only got 7 on the last set. I just flat out hit muscle failure, and I couldn't go any further. But then, so we just stand back up and rack it. But I like these. I think this will be a better replacement for me. It doesn't put as much stress on the low back. So I don't have to worry about that, especially if I'm going to squat or deadlift or whatever the next day for a max. Like, I don't want that fatigue accumulated there. And so it'll help me with that tremendously. But by that same token, it really hit those areas. Like, I know those areas need work. Yes, I need tricep, but I need everything. My benching's got to come back up. We need to get back to the PR that we hit earlier this summer. I have to get back to it. And then we have to pass it, because that was on the road to where we needed to be. So we go back and we dial the training back to where it was before the shoulder issue. Valuable lesson learned. But it goes to show you guys, like, if you have an exercise that's an inflammation problem for you, and in my case it's pull-ups, and that seems to be for a lot of people. I get very quick overuse problems in my shoulders from them. I'm probably never going to do them again. I don't even want to prescribe them to clients unless they beg me to, just because of my experience. But it goes to show you it can set you back pretty far, because my benching is now weaker. I hit a closed grip with as much weight as that lockout was on that missed lift just now. So we've got to get back to that, and I've got to do it while slowly losing body weight. So this training has to be perfect. It's got to be dialed in. I've got to optimize my volume, which means we push a little more volume on those pressing muscles on the speed day, so that we can just go heavy, moderate volume on this day, just get some good stimulation, get stronger, and then I can put the volume into these smaller muscles that need it too, triceps. So these went up. Last time I did 5x12 last week with this movement. Today I got 6 sets of 15. Now, they were challenging at 15, but we got them. So that's what we want to see. These smaller movements like this, like these Skullcrushers, we want to see that progress. We need to see progress there because, again, triceps have to grow. And people could say, well, doesn't it seem like your delts might have been a little weak on that bench? Yes, but here's the problem we have. Tricep weakness will cause you to get injured easy if you have a delt weakness. All right? Just be aware of that. So what I have to do is keep the triceps caught up. My triceps are getting stronger. My other muscles regress due to not being able to train them. I have to maintain that flow of keeping the triceps ahead. Okay, my triceps have to get stronger than my delts and my pecs. It's the best way for me to stay injury-free on the benching and to address my historic miss point. I tend to miss lockouts. That's where I miss 90% of the time. Even though that one looked a little more mid-range, and we could argue that was delt. And again, we would expect that. My shoulders have regressed. Even my overhead pressing there. Right? I should have been able to get, I feel like, seated with that movement 12 reps. Okay? So, again, we use all these smaller movements and hammer this stuff. And I'll use a lot of floor press variations and seated overhead press variations to build front delts, pecs, everything else. And again, we'll use all these smaller movements, Skullcrusher variations, JM presses, JM press variations to keep building the triceps. And then I do band press downs afterwards. Like I do a second workout later. And no, we don't need to see it. It's not worth me filming. You guys can take my word that I do really high rep lightweight band press downs. So I'm doing those later in the day as kind of restoration and to keep the tendons healthy. Because again, I'm doing so much straight weight tricep work. We have to be aware of that. If you just do nothing but skull crushers and JM presses for your triceps, you're eventually going to have tendon problems. Okay, they will beat your elbows up. So you need that band work if you're going to do a lot of them. You need it. And that's what I'm doing. I know I need it. So I do it later in the day. But then I'm at the point now where I know my benching muscles need so much growth. I don't want them to have to be beat up by the time I get to other stuff. So I'm not doing anything for them my other days. So I'm literally not doing anything for my front delts, triceps, or chest other than these 2 days. All right. All my other restoration stuff is ab work, reverse hypers, sled drags, things like that. Maybe some grip work. Although with all the grip specialization I'm doing in training, I don't feel like I need a lot of grip work at this very moment. We'll see. We'll see. Remains to be seen. And I'm trying to upgrade some of my equipment a little bit, but unfortunately, back orders, lead time, inventory is not making that easy. There's things I want to get that are completely out of stock. At least one major thing I've ordered that I may not have it for at least 3 weeks. But you guys will kind of see as we go. Mainly Rogue is just struggling. We're struggling with inventory with them. And it sucks because you can't even get free shipping by ordering big enough stuff, because if you can't get everything you want. If you have to order one thing at a time, a little bit frustrating. Then you guys know the inverted rows. These are my staple. I do 5 sets of these every workout. Shoulder width grip, axle bar inverted rows. And I get about 15 because that's about my strength limit. And so we end up doing 20 sets of these a week. This is all I need for lats. Not worried about anything else for lats. And it helps with the upper back. And because I'm using the axle bar, helps with grip. And a lot of times I have to re-grip. Now I made it through the first 3 sets of these without needing to re-grip. The last 2 sets I had to re-grip because my grip starts giving out on the axle bar. It starts giving out. But this is my bread and butter right now for middle back and a very, very large portion of my upper back training. We're handling the rest of the upper back with upright rows, shrugs, maybe a few band pull aparts here and there on off days. Usually if I do them just like I do the tricep work at the end of the upper workouts. I'll do the band pull apart sometimes after the lower body workout. Because it's my second day of these inverted rows in a row, because I don't want to overly fatigue those muscles, because I'm going to have to do inverted rows again the next day. And it's almost the issue I worry about with doing biceps at the end. That's one reason I don't do too much bicep work. I'm doing just enough to get the training effect we want and not taking them to some sort of maximum recoverable volume, because I'm doing 20 sets of rows a week spread out. I can't afford for my biceps to be so fatigued that I can't do these. I need them to facilitate better performance, not reduce it. But again, these definitely work for my back, and I've got to bring all that up too. Like, I know everyone's like, your back is massive. I'm like, yeah, but it could always be better, particularly in the right places. If we want our big lifts to go up, squat, bench, deadlift, and arguably even the overhead press, if you want to call that the big 4. We need certain parts of the back to grow. They can never be overdeveloped. Then my main other shoulder exercise, because again, we need to make sure the side delt gets hit. I want to make sure that the whole upper trap gets hit. But this works all of it. This actually works the mid trap, front delt, rear delt. Especially the wide grip hits the rear delt. And for those who are like, this is a counterindicated exercise, not with the wide grip and not if you don't take it up all the way. Like if you limit the range of motion, which actually the wide grip limits your range of motion tremendously. This makes it hit the rear delt harder. It makes it easier on your rotator cuff. Okay, it's much, much safer. And notice I'm doing these very strict, even if it means I have to use super lightweight. So if people are curious what I have on the bar at the moment, it's only 75 pounds. But with that really wide grip in sets of 15, considering my shoulders are already fatigued, these are hard. Like the last couple sets, I'm having to do a little bit of rest pause to get to my 15. So I might actually technically be at muscle failure, but I'm just rest pausing to get a little bit further, just to get a little deeper, make sure we're hitting everything. But again, great exercise if you perform it correctly. And I get DOMs in my delts from these historically. That's one reason I've added them back in. I know how to do them safely. And because I get the DOMs in those certain areas in my shoulders, that's not always what we need to go on. That's not always indicative of anything positive, but it can be. But because I get it there, I know I'm at least working that area that lags for me. So but I need more shoulder girdle development. My whole shoulder girdle needs to come up. Right? I mean, people could say, well, this part and this part. Actually, honestly, some of it needs more work than others. But all of it needs to come up. So exercises like this that hammer all three heads of the delts and the traps, and that we can do a pretty fair amount of volume of, is kind of icing on the cake here. It's what I need to be doing. Again, same thing. Combine it with the wide grip overhead press, and we're getting a tremendous shoulder builder. And keeping in mind, even as far as rear delts go, people will say, well, are the rear delts getting enough? Well, 20 sets of inverted rows. Factor in how all of these things hit the rear delts. Okay, my rear delts are getting a ridiculous amount of volume. This is making sure that the side delts and front delts and traps are getting a large amount to go with it. But this does hit the rear delts pretty well also. There's good EMG data showing that. And that's not the be-all, end-all, but if an EMG shows strong recruitment in a muscle, you can at least be sure that muscle's being worked. Right? It's not just a dynamic stabilizer. It is contributing. So you're going to get some adaptation. So again, this is really ensures that I end up getting the well-rounded shoulder development that I need, because I need that. I need that whole upper back and shoulder girdle to grow to bring my lifts up. It is historically a weak link for me, and it could stand to get bigger. I feel like my squat will go up. My deadlift probably not at this point from it, but my squat will go up and my bench will go up from it, and it'll make my benching safer. You've got to be aware of the risk of shoulder injuries. I've now had an issue with major inflammation in the shoulder. I wouldn't classify it as a true injury, but very close to, that I've had to work through in rehab. And so again, having stability and balanced shoulder development is going to be pretty important. Then we finished up with our axle bar curls for sets of 20. And I ended up kind of rest pausing and getting, I think, 23 on the last set, which is kind of a record, because I think last time I could only get to 15 on the third set with this, and I kind of had to rest pause the last 5. So the first set was relatively easy, and then it started getting challenging to get to 20. And so why am I doing lightweight? Well, so that I'm not using my low back a lot. I don't want to swing a lot and get cramps and fatigue in my low back. I got to have a squat and deadlift day tomorrow. I got to do ultra heavy 20 rep sets of good mornings. Right? Doing 20 rep good mornings with past 200 pounds. I can't have my low back all beat up. So lightweight. And besides, the high reps will probably help my biceps, doing the really high reps. Okay, I've done a lot of heavy pulling. I feel like all this extra volume will help. And since I'm mostly doing my other pulls, like my inverted rows and things with high reps, what do we get from this? We'll get better work capacity, which will probably improve my rows. And we're doing just enough to make sure that I'm hitting that function of the bicep that's not getting hit on the rows, just to make sure my biceps are getting a little bit of stimulation. And I'm trying to lock at the bottom on these to help strengthen that connective tissue there, to reduce the chance of bicep tears on the deadlift, which is always going to be a concern. It's never a zero concern no matter what you're doing, right? Something we should always be thinking about with preventative work. But good workout. I mean, I didn't bench as strong as I had hoped for today, but it's still an improvement from last week if we were to kind of balance the strength and estimate. It's still an improvement, but I've got a long way to go to rebuild. I don't think it'll take that long, to be fair. I don't think it'll take that long because of the muscle memory. And we'll bounce everything back. Keep the shoulders healthy, hit the 350 again, and then move beyond it. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.